All right, we're back, and apologies for the technical difficulties again. We'll continue. Sean?
Yep, just talking about the Arno cap, kind of going through, and then this is on the new no-show stitch rubber sole. Most gentlemen and clients are familiar with the R1, and this is basically the same aesthetic, but it has a leather midfoot that's basically stitched in, and then this is glued on top. They're basically looking at just a little bit more of a casual aesthetic, definitely kind of geared towards a little bit more of a jeans, khakis, and to be frank, kind of like a jogger type community when it gets put on kind of some of these a little bit more casual loafers. This is also the Earl. Basically, they took the Duke and just kind of reimagined it. A new opening for the penny, some alterations in the toe shape, meaning the sides being a little bit elongated, a little bit heightened. I tried this on. This is actually my size. It has a really fun aesthetic. I actually posted it to my Instagram a few days ago. I really like this aesthetic. I think I'm gonna maybe do the Earl for the store, possibly in nutmeg as a stock kind of fun summer, kind of spring summer shoe.
Definitely looks really good, and I have to admit there's a lot of familiarity with that toe shape with a very, very popular French brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not surprised that Green is taking them head on, because they do loafers better than anybody else. So
Yeah, I mean, the Duke was a classic model. It's their leisure hand sewn model. However, they just update stuff, and I think that's really great. You know, I think some other brands don't pivot that fast again, and again, I'm not saying it's correct, good, bad, or indifferent. I just think that's fun that they can like see something and say, hey, you know, we need to respond to a little bit more of a casual environment. Let's do something, keep the heritage of it, but just kind of update it a little bit. Yep. And it doesn't, I don't use the word bastardized, but it didn't kind of like completely remove its heritage. It didn't make it something it wasn't. It kept it kind of in the same thing and just a modern version of it. Then this leads me to my favorite, I think, shoe that came in the entire batch, which people are gonna be like, what are you talking about? This London grain Dover on a 606 is, and again, this is the double leather sole completely, actually it's a taper. It's just amazing. I think this is a perfect example, more so in the brown for most American guys, but for more of an international crowd, this black London grain is just phenomenal. It just looks so cool. It just gives a shoe a really handsome aesthetic. It updates it other than just something, you know, it's not suede, doesn't have that thing, but it still gives you a just beautiful, beautiful look. Again, sometimes I'm really impressed with stuff that comes for trunk shows that not everyone is always super jazzed about. And it's just because like it just responds to me a little bit more, it kind of speaks to me, and I think that's that. And again, I'm not a huge 606 guy, but I think in this, especially in this grain, it just looks so great. And I would choose this as a first shoe, possibly versus a 202, which is my preferred last from Green.
Well, and that's why, I mean, today, that's what I purchased, is the Galway boot in the brown London grain. I mean, it's a phenomenal looking grain, and especially on a shoe like this, or where you have the big exposed piece of leather, like on the Galway, it's a great looking opportunity to really show off the shoe.
Yeah, it's a really just fun option, like I said. And I think in the Galways, it just gives it that exact balance of character where you're like, okay, it's not a Delapre, it's not a Utah. It has just a little bit more kind of refinement, even though it's a roughed out kind of leather and kind of a little more grain, but it still has something a little fun and gives your shoe a little bit more depth than just a suede would. Kind of moving down, this was a surprise in the box. I wasn't expecting a Wholecut. This is the Newberry. Again, it's always fun. It's fun when they can send this stuff in. The box needs a little touching up, it looks like. It's been manhandled a little bit. Again, I'm not really a big Wholecut fan. I know this guy who works in the shoe industry is telling everyone he doesn't like a Wholecut, considering everyone else loves Wholecuts. You know, I gotta say, this is really aesthetically pleasing. It's just not 100% in my taste, but I like sneakers. I can totally appreciate something, and if someone came in, I'd be like, let's get you into Newberry. Let's do it in nightshade. I've seen this done in nightshade a whole ton, and with the burnishing, it just looks so elegant and just has this really sleek look. I'm pretty sure you can do the Newberry on the 915, so it would be a round toe with a slightly more edged toe box, and I think that would make it even a little bit more of a modern kind of sleek aesthetic.
Similar to my Acme or some of my other Wholecuts.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's just got a beautiful stitch in the back. And this guy's, again, just on the classic N1 sole with a little bit of a slight bevel on it. And then, you know, everyone's been saying it. I'm a huge loafer fan. I'm a huge proponent of loafers. Always have been. I'm a big, to be frank, Alden loafer fan. But there's a handful of stuff I want to get done by Green, especially in the next year. This is an unlined Piccadilly in Delapre. Surprise in the box and super elegant, right on trend for everyone who wants unlined everything. I'm personally a fan of lined shoes. That's my personal taste. I don't mind the kind of break-in period. I like that kind of little bit more of a reassurance that it's been lined and it keeps its shape a little bit better, depending on the leather. But I totally understand everyone else saying, hey, I want just an unlined shoe. This is, as you can see for me, just kind of playing with it. It's so soft right out of the box. And the nice thing again with green, love it or hate it, depending on who, how traditional you are, they do keep a little bit of stiffener in the toe box to keep it a little more refined, which I think just makes these so much nicer because it's unlined, but it still has the toe shape.
Right.
So.
Well, and if you compare it to like the Polperos or the other loafers, the summer, cemented things that I have, the big difference here is that, this is a structured loafer versus an unstructured loafer.
Yeah.
And if you look at that toe box and the way that is and the way that it'll last over time, and the heel, because they have the stiffeners there too, it makes a difference, and it makes it so that it'll hold its shape just a little bit better. And there's, to me anyway, as a shoe buyer, there's value in that.
I agree. Again, to each their own. I think everyone has their own usage and where they see the cost per dollar kind of going into what they want to do. I like more of a, I like a fully lined suede or, regular grain leather Piccadilly. However, if you're living down south and you want just a shoe, you want to break in real fast, I totally understand the concept and understand, what's going on. And again, going with a fully unlined, cemented sole, you can see it's dramatically different and it keeps the shape so nice.
That's right.
And then, this is, everyone wants kind of that slipper aesthetic now. This is their, I wouldn't quite call this hand sewn because it's really not. There's a different version that is hand sewn over there.
Yeah.
And this is a model that I was not familiar with. This is the Dracot. Super elegant. I like this one. It is fully lined. It keeps its shape. It's on the R1. And this actually might be, this is raw umber, which is another color I was considering. It's this beautiful kind of mid-tan. It just kind of is really nondescript. I kind of like the nutmeg a little bit better next to it, but that's my own personal taste.
Yeah.
And I'm not even a tan shoe guy, but everyone else seems to love tan shoes and tan boots, so I'm trying to get on the train of saying, okay, I'm gonna be a little more open to that. I wanted something for next year, because I'm gonna do something in one of these two colors, literally one of these two colors, that has a little more of a southern / summery kind of deserty vibe that I thought would be kind of fun, which is a little outside my taste, because I normally lean a little bit heavier into like oyster or mushroom, which would be my default kind of like, what I would lean into.
Right.
But now being as a retailer, I think, okay, like what would I do if I wasn't this guy and I wasn't in that, very narrow range? And I think these colors just pop really nice. A client Instagram friend has a nutmeg Galway boot and it looks killer. And again, that's not a category I would normally say I would personally buy, but I think when I saw it stretch, I was like, oh, that looks utterly amazing, and it's just a beautiful color. And I was like, I think a loafer would look really cool like that. So that's direction on that. So
it all depends on where people are in their shoe collection. Right?
Yeah, 100%.
If somebody has 100 pairs of shoes like I do, they can take a risk on something
Oh.
that's really, really pushing it, and it's not a big deal, right? Because you only wear your shoes once every 3-4 months anyway.
Yeah.
Whereas if you're looking at one of a 3-shoe rotation, you want something more like a mushroom or something like that that you know is going to go with your entire wardrobe, not just part of it.
Exactly. That's why I think everyone loves snuff suede.
Totally.
It legitimately goes with everything.
That's right.
Pretty seasonal.
And for those who've seen my videos before, that would be polo in Crockett and Jones.
Correct.
And I believe that Carmina calls that tobacco. And like everybody has a different name for it, but that's the color that is probably the easiest suede to match with everything in your wardrobe.
Yeah.
Except black.
Except for black. Yeah. And I just, I agree. I think that's the fun part, to be frank. That's what I missed about having no store for a year or two. I missed clients coming in and just talking shoes. Talking like this, even when I don't have all the answers, and I would readily say, technically I've been selling all of them since 2012, I'm still learning, and again, always being a little bit more myopic as a retailer. I don't kind of see the grandiose picture except for like creating things.
Right.
But it's one of those things where I do appreciate stuff. I have huge inspiration files. I have lots of sneaker inspirations too. So it's one of those things where I can totally relate to a lot of different people, and they're like, well, I only wear joggers. Okay, then let's put you in a super casual loafer that all of a sudden just elevates your casual aesthetic from the sneaker. So now maybe it gets you a better table because now you got a little bit of a fun loafer on.
Right.
Or guys who are on their 30th shoe and they're like, I don't know what to get. I saw Shannon, it had multiple leathers, can we do something like that? I'd be like, yes, here's my inspiration folder of all this stuff, let's do it, or something like that. And, we didn't even get into discussing Cordovan from Green. Edward Green has Horween Cordovan stock in like 5 colors. Yeah, navy, color 8, cognac, whiskey, and black. Always available. They also have crocodile. You've seen some crocodile if you're a follower of Anthony, the brand rep. He's got a pair of loafers that recently did with a crocodile insert. I think it's one of those things where, is Cordovan for everybody? No. Is there Cordovan makeups that I can do in green that I can't do with Alden? 100%, and they don't say no, and they have navy and cognac available instantly.
Right.
And if anybody right now knows that cognac is being used a lot right now, and it's being darkened to match London grain brown, and it's being used, I'm doing one confirmation later today. Green's gonna push it next year, I think. It's just an amazing option where you don't have to wait in line, you don't have to be on a list, it's not cheap, but I think you cut a lot of that middle out that maybe you only want 6 amazing Grail shoes that you want in your collection. You want a Galway, you want, a 990 from Alden just to have it, you want, go down the line of maybe a whiskey loafer, and you can say, hey, I gotta wait forever to get a whiskey loafer from Alden, I gotta be on a list, boom, you can just make one. You can also get one from Crockett & Jones, which I don't sell, but I totally support. And I totally understand that every year they do a whiskey kind of leisure hand sewn and it looks phenomenal, and they use Horween. So there's other options that guys just don't realize when they look very narrowly and they're saying, I just want this. When, if you cut out the middleman or you pay a little bit extra, now you're one of one.
That's right.
Or if you do a group order, you're one of 4.
As I've noted on the channel before, when you spend $1,600 on a pair of shoes versus $800, the shoes are better quality.
Mm-hmm.
They really are. It's not one thing. It's 100 little things,
Totally.
and that's something that you just have to come to terms with. It wasn't easy for me. I know it's not easy for a lot of guys, and that's okay. But as you continue your journey, if it's something that it does interest you and you do have the means, it's something to think about.
Yeah, when I used to sell Saint Crispins, a couple of the brand reps had navy Cordovan tassel loafers. They were absolutely phenomenal. And, I was like, the fact that you could just pony up the cash and have navy Cordovan without having to, finagle anything or be in a line, it was just amazing. And that's like the same thing with this true color 8, I think is amazing. I will legitimately say, my previous employer has an amazing color 8 green that he does as like an anniversary shoe that is phenomenal. And he tweaked the model, so the model has a little bit of tweaks to it. It is phenomenal. I had a couple of them come through the store and they were amazing. So it's one of those things where, again, price it is high. I will never in a million years deny that, but it's one of those things where it's also kind of puts you to the front of a line if you want something and you only want 5 really great shoes. Yep. So, and if you're gonna go from 5 different makers, I could literally pick out 5 different killer models. They're not all Cordovan and they're not all one thing or another. I think you could just pick out a really great lineup of shoes and, you invest your time and money into it and you get exactly what you want, so.
Exactly. Well, Sean, thank you so much for the tour and for hosting this great trunk show. It's great to see all of these cool shoes in one place. So
Thank you so much.